stop talking about it.
Bob, be quiet.
Be quiet, Bob.
Just slip away quietly.
We just had another committee member sign on.
Hey, Allison.
Hi. How's everyone?
Okay.
And I think everybody saw that we have a pretty busy agenda tonight, so we'll all be on our best behavior, I'm sure, to try to briskly move.
Yep.
Is everybody here that's going to be involved in the 305 President Street presentation?
Yes,
We're going to start
here.
with that one.
Yep.
Okay.
Need one more.
Deb is here. We're at 11.
Okay. Let's get started.
Yeah.
Could someone else please take minutes?
Yeah, I'll do that.
I can do it.
I got it.
Thank you. All right. So, all right, the first one up is 305 President Street, Certificate of Appropriateness application for a new 2-story rear yard extension, a rooftop addition, and an accessory rear structure. We heard this one last month. It's changed a little bit. Nicholas, you're presenting?
Yes.
Okay, you remember the rules. Questions and answers can happen except once there's a motion on the floor, then just the committee discusses it unless someone asks you a question directly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, take it away.
All right. Okay, hello again. My name is Nicholas Brown, the architect working with the clients at 305 President Street. We were here last month. There's been some revisions to our design and presentation. We are here to talk about proposed 2-story rear addition, a new proposal for a rooftop addition, and then the accessory structure in the rear. And there was a little bit of back and forth with Landmarks last month about the front areaway work, but they did finally confirm that that can be handled at a staff level. So it's not necessary to be part of this presentation. Historical context, this project is located in the Carroll Gardens Historic District, which is highlighted by this red boundary, and the project location highlighted in black. And the tax photo to the right shows the existing brownstone details, which we'll be restoring with the staff level review and the cornice work as well. Existing context street view. The image on the top is the view along President Street with the project location highlighted here. And the bottom image is the view along Union Street, again with the project location highlighted. And this is to illustrate that the rear facade and rear yards are not visible from any public right of way. Block plan air view, again, just to give an overall look at the block in context, project location here. And as you can see, there are no breaks or openings that would allow for any visibility of the rear facade. And then block plan rear facades, again, working along the rear buildings on President Street. The image in the bottom left, it starts at the corner of Hoyt and President, and then working our way down the block. As you can see, there are a variety of additions, 2-story, single-story, partial width. And then the top right image shows that our projects, we're at the end of a series of bay windows, and then there's a shift in scale to the building to the right, which steps up a story and also extends past the rear facade. Block plan, this is to show the.
Pauline, I think you might need to mute yourself because we're getting some feedback from
Yeah, I'm
your
getting a
line.
weird echo. I'll keep going. So anyway, our building located highlighted in black, and then there's the proposed addition in dark blue. The lighter blue showing all the other additions along the block. Some are 2-story, single-story, partial width, and then the green showing the existing decks and the stairs. And then the rear photo, this is a panoramic view of the rear facades. Again, from 307 present 307 to 317 President Street, there are multiple bay windows. And then to 305 President, which is the project location, we're at the end of that row. And then the 303 President to the right, there's that shift in scale. As part of this project, we are removing the sunroom, the rear facade. And unlike the last time we were here, our new proposal for the rear addition is trying to work more with the rhythm and context of these bay windows. We have some 3D renderings that'll illustrate it a little bit better, but essentially we're rebuilding the bay window, but extending it out to the line of the building to the right at 303 President. So this is the existing rear elevation. Again, the sunroom, fire escape being removed, and then the existing bay window. The new proposal is showing maintaining that same volume and form of the existing bay, but just extending it out to the adjacent building. And it's a little bit difficult to see in the two-dimensional, but the 3D renderings will help illustrate a little bit more clearly. But again, we are proposing to reconstruct the same volume and form as the bay window, matching the existing brick, but extending it out to the building to the right. There's the masonry open, or the windows in the bay window are matching the same size and shape of the existing windows. The garden level has doors that walk out to the rear yard. The parlor has 2 fixed windows with a door that walks out to a simple stair to the rear yard. On the second floor, we are enlarging those windows to create doors that walk out to the roof deck. Again, it's keeping the alignment with the existing windows above. On the third floor, we're keeping the same masonry openings, just replacing them with casement windows. The existing brick cornice is being maintained and restored as needed. And then the new part of this presentation is this roof addition, which is being set back from the rear facade to maintain a differentiation between the existing building and the new proposal. Some diagrams of the sites. These are the existing. As you can see, the plan below shows the shape and volume of the bay window. And then again in section, the location of the existing bay. And as you can see in the proposed, we are proposing the extension to match the same form and volume of the existing bay window, but just extending it out to align with the neighboring building. And then showing that extension as well in section. And then the new part of this presentation is the rooftop addition. And with this addition, we've set it back to maintain non-visibility from the street. As you can see from the section, the view of the sidewalk from across the street on President's, all the work we're doing is staying below the sight line to maintain the non-visibility, even setting back the upper guardrail to stay below that sight line. And then the rear portion of the upper addition, we've set it back from the rear facade to maintain a clear delineation of that existing cornice and a separation from the existing facade and the new addition. These are just some more detailed photos of the existing situation. As you can see, the distance that will be extending it out to match the adjacent building. All of the new windows will be matching the existing bluestone head and sill in the same shape and volume of the existing bay windows. And then here's some 3D renderings to help illustrate the design intention. The image on the left, you can clearly see how the extension, we're still maintaining the form and shape of the existing bay window, but just extending it out to align with the existing building, the adjacent building. And then detailing of the head and sill. You can see the little walkout patio on the second floor. And then the upper roof addition is being set back from the rear facade to create that differentiation. The materials, standing seam siding in black, again, to create a contrast between the existing building and the new roof addition. And the image on the right is the view from the rear yard. We're continuing this 3-window motif of the bay and the new windows above. So on the second floor, the 3-panel sliding doors, and then on the top roof addition, again in 3 panels, there are 2 casements on the outside and the fixed window in the center. They match the proportion of the existing casement windows below. And then the proposed front elevation, again, the front areaway and front facade restoration all being handled on a staff level along with the cornice. The proposed rooftop addition, you can see here, we're aligning with the height of the adjacent buildings, infilling that gap. It's set back to maintain non-visibility, which creates that front roof deck area. And then again, some sliding doors that walk out to that roof area. And then the guardrail above. And then some renderings showing the roof addition from the front. Again, being set back to maintain that non-visibility. The siding, again, the black standing seam with black framed sliding doors to walk out to the roof deck. And then also the guardrail above for the rooftop maintenance being set back so that it's not visible from the street. This is the image on the top left is a drawing for the mock-up for the roof addition. Again, defining that volume and shape of the proposed addition, and then also the railing that's being set back to ensure that none of these elements are visible from the street. And then also the mock-up for the rear part of the facade being set back from the existing facade. The images on the bottom are showing photos of the mock-up. The top bottom right showing view towards President Street, that's set back, and then the railing as well being set back further. The view in the middle, or the image in the middle, showing toward the view towards the rear yard, mocking up the rear facade and the railing above. And then the bottom left, again, just more closer detail of that rear facade mock-up and the setback from the existing cornice. So these are some images along President Street, again, showing that any angle and view, the mock-up and the future proposed addition would not be visible. So as you sequentially walk down the block, you can see that no visibility of anything, the building or the railing as well. And then the last element to talk about is the proposed accessory structure. This is a simple wood frame garden shed. It's going to be mounted to a concrete slab, which will have an epay decking. There's an epay fence as well. These are left in a natural finish so that it gets a silvery patina. And then the garden shed material is a vertical ebony stained cedar. Again, to create a contrast between the silvery gray of the epay and the garden shed. The roofing is a black standing seam metal as well to tie in the materiality of the roof addition. There's a flush door with a view window, another viewing window out to the garden, and then an operable skylight on the top to allow more natural light and ventilation. And that's pretty much the presentation.
Thank you, Nicholas. Questions, Glenn?
Yes, just wanted to state first that this was worth waiting for. I like what you've done, especially in the back. And I only have questions or comments about railings. I wonder on the front deck if there will be a railing behind the cornice, or will the cornice suffice in providing safety?
There's actually a glass railing that's shown here.
Okay.
And then you can see in this section as well. So
All right, well, and that brings me to my next comment is the back railing on that upper deck is also glass. And while I do find it attractive in the possibility of its being less visible, we do have a long-standing preference, I'm going to call it a requirement, for iron railings painted black to match all of the other railings in our landmark districts. So I believe that would be our preference. It certainly is my preference. And then last is the railing on the rooftop addition. Not sure that's necessary since I don't see any stairs or any way to get up on top of that rooftop. So it's not intended to be an accessible rooftop, I guess. And, you know, I'm not sure of the building codes. I see there's a hatch there. So
yeah, for maintenance.
yeah, I didn't see that earlier, but I see it now. So that's what's sort
Yeah,
of
it's pretty much just
requiring the
safety,
railing?
yeah, safety, yeah. Mhm.
Okay, seems unfortunate. I don't have a railing on my house and. I
Yeah,
guess
when you
somebody
start to
will
build the
put one
new,
there.
right, you have to match the new code when you start building new.
Right, so that's my concern is the glass railing
Okay.
just does not match the existing context. That's all.
Thank you, Glenn. Jerry?
I guess Glenn said some of what I was going to say about the two glass railings, but my second question is, how are you supporting these glass railings since there are no posts shown?
It's like Cyril Lawrence and these companies have, it's a shoe support system. So essentially it's like a wedged shoe that gets anchored to the decking. So essentially the line along here is essentially all the support is within that shoe molding.
Thank you. We've got to kill this phone.
Not clear. Jerry, are you done? I'm gonna assume, anybody else have other questions?
David, it looks like Bob has a question.
And I'm saying
Okay,
I
he's not
do, but
public.
I was muted, so couldn't hear that.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see your hand up.
That's all right. I know you said that we don't have to review the front. I assume though you are still going to use the chrome then, that chrome hatch cover.
No, we'll take your previous comments into consideration and look at, maintaining a more landmark palette.
Okay,
We'll review that with the staff and we'll come to
Okay.
something that makes
Yeah.
sure that we don't do anything that
yeah.
doesn't fit the context.
Okay, I think the motion should include that, even if we don't have to look at it, to let them know that we would prefer a iron painted black hatch cover there to the cellar or basement, whichever. Thank you.
Okay, Daniel?
Yeah, can we just go back to the last slide you were on with the garden? I'm a little confused as to where that is in this project.
It's here.
Oh, it's
That's the very
okay.
back of the yard, yeah.
Oh, it's at the back of the yard. Okay.
Correct. Yeah, so this view is essentially standing kind of in the center of the yard looking towards the back. So this is the property line on the opposite side of this fence.
Okay. Because I heard reference to roof material when you were talking.
Oh
about
yeah,
that.
the standing seam, the roof of the shed is the same black metal standing seam that we're using in the front and the rear of the
I
roof
see.
addition.
Okay. All right. I got a little confused there. And then I guess my other question, are there any photos actually showing the non-visibility from the street of the
Yeah,
mock-up?
This whole sequence here essentially is from the opposite sidewalk taking photos. So this white line arrow is showing the building, and these were taken after the mock-up was complete. So you can see that there's no visibility of the addition or that guardrail that we need at the top.
Okay. Thank you.
Joanna?
Hi, yeah, I just wanted to thank the team for really taking into account a lot of our comments from last time, especially reducing the visibility and maintaining the bay is fantastic. I just had some question about the shed. Well, you're referring to it as a shed, but seems to be maybe intended for more frequent use. And I was wondering if it has any plumbing or what the owners have in mind for that.
Yeah, there'll be electrical for lighting and then for a hose bib as well for the rear yard garden.
Okay.
Maddie?
Yeah, I had a question. Where is the HVAC and stuff like that going? Is the backyard or up on the roof or where?
We originally had it up on the roof addition, but it seemed complex. And so we actually have it located here. You can see on the site plan. So we have the condensing units in the rear yard.
Okay, thank you.
Ariel. Ariel, did I see your hand up? Maybe I didn't. Sorry, I'm scrolling. Oh,
Nope,
Glenn,
not
I
me.
see your hand up. Okay, Glenn, I think your hand is up again.
Yes, it is. I just noticed that Owen Foote has put a comment in the chat saying that roof railing is only required if you have rooftop maintenance equipment, HVAC. So since that's been moved, it's possible and worth looking into.
Yeah, I mean,
Removing
we
that
would
if you don't
love-
need it.
Yeah, we would love to not have it. I'll definitely confirm that. I think it might have been because we originally had the condensing units up there. So if we can not have it, that would be better.
Thank you, Owen.
Okay. Thank you for reading that. Sorry, I think I saw someone, Yidi Levovitz, did you have your hand up? No? Okay, then I think, sorry, I have to keep scrolling back and forth on my iPad. So Jerry? You're muted
Sorry,
right now. Okay.
do we have any community people or can we take a motion? I don't want to rush you. I'm
I
just
see two
asking.
hands up in the attendee list.
Okay,
Hey, Liv and Francis.
I'm here, Leibowitz is here.
Okay, was your hand up?
Nope.
Okay. Sorry, I'm still scrolling here.
David, we do have two attendees whose hands are up, but I want to make clear to the attendees that we're talking about 305 President Street now. So if you have a question about 305 President Street and you're from the community, please use the raise hand function.
Thank you, Ty.
It looks like we do have
Yeah.
one hand.
All right, sorry, my iPad's very slow, so you go ahead and call on the person.
Okay, Francis Facciolo, your hand is up. I'm going to promote you to the panel. You have 3 minutes to say your piece.
Francis, no one's hearing you. Maybe you're muted.
Hi, I'm Francis Facciolo. I'm the co-owner of 307 President Street, which is 2 doors down from 305, 305A, and then 307. My concern is not how the back looks, and I cannot see how much further it extends on this drawing to match. I mean, I can see it on this. I don't see how many feet it is from the
Here
back.
it's 6'9" right here.
Okay, so basically you're extending the building out 6'9".
Correct.
Fair enough. I'm concerned that this provides a precedent for anybody on President Street to come along and say, I would like to extend my building, keep it a bay shape, but I'd like to extend it out another, almost 7 feet. I do not own 305A, so I can't speak for the owner of 305A, but if my building were boxed in by 2 extensions like this, it would make a material difference to what the feeling of being in the backyard was. I really have nothing more to say than that. I'm concerned about the precedential effect of this. So there is my comment. It looks very nice as designed, but maybe everybody on the block will want one of these when they can afford it. And all of a sudden, the whole block will start looking different and backyards will be blocked in.
Thank you, Francis. Does anybody else have a comment? Question? All right, Jerry. Let her rip.
okay. I'm gonna, on 305 President Street, the motion is to recommend conditional approval. And the only condition is that the railings on the roof deck and on the rear deck be vertically be a metal railing with vertical pickets or whatever you want to call them. And it should be painted black to match all of the other railings within the district and on the block. In other words, no glass railings. That's the motion.
You can include the preference for the front being black.
The
I have
front of
no
what?
problem with you hitting that.
I'm sorry, I be clear, the front of what?
The
The diamond
hatch
plate
cover.
hatch.
They showed it last
That's
time as
black.
being chromed.
That's not part of our, right, Nicholas?
we
That's
can
all.
still
that
give our
being
It's
preferences.
not,
We've
no,
done it
it's-
before.
No, but let's, I don't like when we do this, but the motion is about what the public meeting notice is about. If we wanted to add something else, we can do that later, but I'd rather keep it to the public meeting notice. So do we have a second on Jerry's motion?
Yeah, I'll
Glenn?
sec-
All right, I saw Glenn's hand first, so.
I second. it.
All right, thank you.
I think
Any discussion? Okay. Is anybody against this motion? And I'm gonna try to look for hands, and Alec and Ty, if you could help me.
I don't see any hands, David.
Okay, does anybody abstain from this motion? Any hands up?
It looks clear to me.
Okay, so motion is approved unanimously. Nicholas, we ask that you take into consideration our request for the diamond plate hatch entrance in the front. And I'd just like to say beyond that, very nice presentation and good luck with the project.
All right, thank you.
Sure. Okay, 243 Garfield Place. We'll do that one next. That's the chimney. Is
Yes,
the applicant here?
yes, I'm here.
Jess, that's you?
Yes,
Okay, are you the owner or the architect?
I am the architect with Shapeless Studio, and I'm representing the owners of 243 Garfield Place. I will
Okay.
share my screen.
And you'll just take us through the main presentation.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely. Yeah.
Right, thank you.
So we're here to talk about a visible flue. Again, this is located on 243 Garfield Place. This is a two-family home, and we are specifically addressing a visible flue. There is a small penthouse addition on the top of the home. And again, this is the visible flue that we're talking about. This is a flue that's required by the mechanical code. And by the mechanical code, we have to be 3 feet above this skylight. So this is the front elevation. This is the rear elevation. This is showing points of visibility. So here, this is the zone of visibility, and here is a mock-up. This is still up, so people can actually view this. We have done several mock-ups throughout the duration of fall and winter. So this is definitely the most visible as all the leaves are off the trees. And again, here you're seeing it. The orange is representative of the draft inducer, which is what will be on top of the visible chimney. Here is additional photos. This is photos down the block. There is no visibility from these rear yards. These are some elevation drawings showing the flue. We're currently in this presentation showing the flue being clad in the same brick that the penthouse is. Again, this is the top of the draft inducer, and by the mechanical code, the top of that has to be 3 feet from the top of the skylight. This is showing the zone of visibility bisecting the flue. And again, here is the flue in elevation. This is the mock-up of the visible flue on the penthouse. So as you can see, the penthouse already has the brick structure. And this is showing 2 flues. These are indicative of the draft inducers. It's noted. These are some renderings showing what will be the finished. And this is a plan. Again, this is where the flue structure is located. Okay, that is it.
So Jess, so first of all, my apologies. I should have read into for the record. This is an application, the Landmarks Preservation Commission for a certificate of appropriateness for a new visible flue. So now I've done my duty. One point of clarification, Jess, is it the orange part? Go back to those photos you just had up there.
This. So
Yeah, what's
this,
new?
Yeah, this would be clad in brick. And then the orange part would have the draft inducers.
But what I'm asking, what's the top of the existing right now? Where is
The
that?
top of the existing only goes to here because we've been waiting for LPC approval in order to how to determine to locate these flues or to clad the flues, really.
All right, and thank you for knowing your mechanical code. I've had this argument with other applicants. I appreciate that we're on the same page. All right, questions? Jerry.
What are these flues for is the first question. And I assume that it's a direct run to whatever they're for. Am I correct?
Yeah, they're both for fireplaces, one of which is actually for the tenant below our clients.
Okay. And my other question is, since you're cladding the new flue with the same brick, can you do anything with the lining pipes that are coming out so that at least they're not orange?
Oh, yes, sorry. I'm sorry, I didn't make that clear. The orange will actually be a stainless steel. That'll be the draft inducer. The orange is only for landmarks preservation so that we can try and make the mock-up honestly as visible as possible. So we're very clearly representing what you'll see. But again, it will not be orange. It'll be stainless.
Thank you.
What's wrong with orange, Jerry? I like orange.
I like orange in a lot of places, but not right there.
Glenn.
Yes, I noticed in the presentation in the Google Drive, there were several options presented, diagonal flues, I forget, rear flues. I don't recall the third one, but it seemed like there were options that were mocked up, and we're not considering those, I guess. You've settled on this one?
Not yet. I've had to put some prerogative here. We can't have three in front of us. I wanted to take everybody's temperature on this.
Got it.
And then if we don't like it, then the third one I think is a non-starter because it's essentially this without brick. Right, Jess?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
This is the preferred option, and we have done various mock-ups. We're presenting this, and if people want to ask for more, then we do have that option.
All right, so I'll just say, red brick, I think would make it appear like it belongs in the neighborhood rather than the black brick. And anything to reduce the visibility of the flue that sticks out, black or silver or whatever. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Glenn. Any other questions? Scrolling through.
I see Joanna's hand up, David.
Go ahead, Joanna.
Thanks. Just a question about wood burning fireplaces in New York City. Is it
They're not wood burning, they're gas.
They're gas. Then in that case, do they need this high a chimney? Aren't there some new alternatives that don't require as much?
No, they both need this high of a chimney by mechanical code.
Okay, thank you.
Ariel.
I just, maybe I missed the background on this, or did this come before us before, but David, you've commented on the height of the chimney at every, rooftop edition since I've been on this board. How did this get built without that being known? Was there some background to this?
It's not built.
No, but the but the addition is built.
I can answer that actually. The rooftop addition was approved at staff level.
Ah,
That actually is remarkable.
if
When
I
did
had,
that happen,
if
Ty?
David had had to approve this, this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, I actually asked the applicants for proof of that before putting them on the agenda. It was so shocking to me, but that's what happened.
How long ago did that happen, Jess?
I think it was 2020. It's been a long duration here.
If I may chime in here, the last time we met with LPC, it was made clear to us that if it was just a rear yard addition or just a rooftop addition, they might handle it at staff. If it was any combination, then it would be sent out to us. So that's probably what happened.
I think that actually rings familiar. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Anybody want-
So just for clarity, so the penthouse.
I'm sorry, who's this?
This is Daniel.
Daniel?
All right.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Daniel.
So this penthouse is new, but was approved at staff level and built without coming
Correct.
through our board.
Correct.
And so that all that's before us at this point is the further addition of this
The flue. the
extended
visible.
chimney with flues that's necessitated because you're putting in gas fireplaces in 2 locations
For a lower tenant,
for a lower tenant.
one of which is a lower. Yeah. It's a
Wait a minute.
2-family house.
Okay, so, but there are 2 fireplaces, one for the owner unit and one for the tenant unit?
That's correct.
Were there existing sort of old fireplaces that these are kind of being adapted to as gas fireplaces?
We're making them gas, so they're more up to code. Well, they
But
are
they-
up to code.
But the fireplace sort of enclosure is an existing part of the house?
Yes, there were fireplaces in this.
There were
location.
fireplaces?
Yes. They were not formerly gas. They are not.
Got it.
Other questions?
I wanted to follow up, it's Joanna, just whether other alternatives were explored in terms of the energy firing the fireplace, because my understanding is they're new options that don't require as high a chimney, but maybe someone who's more up to date on the code could speak to that.
So
Maybe.
I'll answer this. So Joanna, this is required by code, whether it's fireplace or gas or probably nuclear. It is the mechanical code.
Electric.
Look, can we just vote on this proposal? I don't want to get into this thing where we're trying to redesign the building. It's just, this is what's in front of us. If we don't like it, that's fair enough. If we like it, then fair enough too. So
Jerry's got his
Jerry, I
hand
see
up.
your hand up. Right, Jerry, are you going to make a motion?
Well, I assume there's nobody here from the community because we haven't heard anything. So I just want to check before I say anything more.
I don't know. Does anybody, Ty, is anybody, I can't see the
We have a
chat.
couple of hands that are popping up now. So again, I'll say the same caveat. We're speaking about 243 Garfield Place here. If you're here on the attendee side and would like to speak, please raise your hand now. Matt Mittler, I see your hand up first, so I'm going to promote you to the panel.
Like about it? They have to do it.
Jerry, can you mute yours? Thank you.
Matt, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
I just did. Okay. So we are neighbors. We're 241 Garfield, and we've been through this process, watching this house struggle through COVID to get built and remodeled, and the owners of the building have been attentive every step of the way and really careful about what's happening with us and what's happening with other neighbors. And it's been, you know, for the difficulty of having construction going on, it's been a real blessing.
And the
And
visuals.
as far as the visuals go, we look up at trees, you know, snow on trees, leaves on trees, the moon through the trees, but basically rather than trip over the sidewalk, we're pretty much looking straight and not scouring the roofs of buildings. But if we were and we saw a chimney, it wouldn't bother us in any way, shape, or form.
Okay.
Thank you, Matt.
Lower my hand.
We have a couple more. Elaine Stogel, I'm going to promote you to the panel now. You should be able to unmute yourself as soon as you're on the other side.
It's weird you have to click on it. You saw what I had to do, right?
Elaine, you're still muted. Elaine, if you're speaking, you're still muted. I can see it. There you go.
Okay, hi. I also live at 241 Garfield Place. Our house is very close to where the chimney would be. I go and my family go up on our roof. I have absolutely no problem with the chimney. I agree with everything Matt said, that the leaves are there most of the time. And you see the chimney, you see all the I don't know, all the TV things on the roof, and it seems a very innocuous addition to the roof.
Thank you, Elaine. Appreciate the feedback, comments. Anybody else?
Yeah, we have one
Okay.
more. Mike Lusto, I'm promoting you to the panel now. You should be able to unmute yourself momentarily.
Hi, can you hear me? I'm not sure if it's working,
Yes,
but
it's working.
I'm a neighbor on Carroll Street. I walk this block frequently to the park and to areas up there. I will say I've taken some interest in this project. It's been going on a long time. I saw this notice up. I am a man of average height. I struggle to see this chimney in the first place. I have looked. I want to say I had to crouch down on the opposite side of the street. And when I do see it, I find it inoffensive. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Mike. Anybody else? Okay, Jerry.
Okay, very simply, I'm going to recommend approval of the addition of the chimney at 243 Garfield Place, coming out of the addition that already has been approved by Landmarks. Editorial, which is not part of the motion, I think, unless this should have been discussed at our level when the addition was first approved, but that's a whole nother story. But basically, the motion is to recommend as approved, as presented.
Good. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Thank you, Maddie. Any conversation? Questions, comments? Okay, well, hearing none, let's take a vote. Is anybody against this motion? I'm scrolling. Ty, if you see any hands up, let me know.
I don't see any, David.
Okay. Does anybody abstain from this motion?
Still good.
Okay. Well, the motion approves unanimously. Jess, I will say karma is on your side. Thank your clients for being such good neighbors. Obviously, it paid off with having these 3 community members show up, actually 4, and speak positively. So we appreciate that. Good luck with the project.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. The next one, 480 Henry Street. Are you folks here?
Hi, yeah, we're here.
Okay, so 480 Henry Street is an application to the Landmark Preservation Commission for a certificate of appropriateness for a new turret-style copper skylight with gable roof and a new large glazed opening at the rear of the parlor floor. Who is presenting?
Hi, I'm Leah Salk from Salk Architecture, and I'm working with the wonderful new owners at 480 Henry to do some exterior and interior renovations.
Okay, so Leah, it's very straightforward. Just present us the exterior of your project. You can take questions, and when the motion's on the floor, you cannot answer questions unless they're directed to you.
Sounds great.
So take it away.
Thank you. So 480 Henry Street is located in the Cobble Hill Historic District, and it's a 4-story row house in the Italianate style built around the 1850s. The new owners would like to renovate the home to change it from a somewhat rundown 4-family rental to a kind of revitalized 2-family home for their family. And just to orient you, this is Henry Street here, and this is DeGraw Street. It's about 40 feet in from the corner. And you can see from Cheever's Place in the back, you can see a little peek through to the back of the building, and that's why we're here for the LPC public hearing. Just to show you some historical context, this is the 1940s tax photo. Had a very handsome cornice at one point and a lot of nice stucco detailing. In the 80s, we think in 1950, per the date of the building, this new parapet was added that spans across a few buildings. And then between 1980 and today, the front stucco has had some issues and patchwork repairs, and the coloration's not great. So a lot of our work will be to correct that and make it more beautiful. Just quickly at the front facade, which is being reviewed at the staff level. This is the existing facade. Everything that's hatched or dashed will be removed and replaced. There are some non-conforming windows which have been made smaller over time. We're going to enlarge those and put them back as the 2/2s that they were meant to be. So you can see here in the proposed elevation, we're making the parlor floor windows much more beautiful, adding more of the stucco detailing back, and you can see the new 2/2s throughout. We're also putting back a replica of the original cornice. This is the skylight here, but it is not visible from the front. This is kind of the focus of our presentation today. This is the existing rear facade. This is the proposed rear facade. And again, everything that's dashed or hatched will be taken out. So all of the existing windows on the 2nd and 3rd floors will be replaced with some nice 2/2s again. At the back of the building, there will be aluminum clad windows in this dark black bronze color. And then at the basement and parlor floors, we're going to propose to make a large opening here. The goal being that these east-west houses tend to have very little natural light coming into them for their orientation. And right here at the parlor floor level will be the kitchen dining area, and we'd like to bring in a lot of nice natural light to that family space. So the proposal here is to make 2 large openings with a spandrel between. And this part right here at the parlor floor is what's visible from Cheever Place, and that's why we're being asked to present at the public hearing. And the skylight.
Leah, sorry, I need to jump in. I just want to be clear. What are you presenting tonight for us to review? I believe it's just that parlor opening and the skylight.
Yeah. And the skylight,
Right.
LPC said last week they'll be reviewing that at the staff level. So we just need to talk about this window door configuration here tonight.
Well, the public meeting notice says a new turret style copper skylight, so we will.
Yeah, I
comment
printed
on
that and then later heard from LPC that the skylight, which I'm happy to go over to, will be reviewed at the staff level because they consider it minimally visible.
I understand.
So.
But we'll comment on it anyway.
Feel
Sorry.
free. No problem. Yeah, and then you can see at the basement level here, we have some larger, more modern glass openings, but those are not visible from any public way. At the parlor floor, we're using a divided light system so that this is a swing door and these are trifold doors that'll bank up against here. And the divided lights are just to be more keeping with the neighborhood and relate to the 2/2 double hung windows above. I'll note that these windows that are existing there are non-conforming, so it's not as though we're taking away something that's in proper style. This is the rooftop mock-ups we did. So this is in plan. This is Henry Street side. This is the Cheever Street side. This is the new copper skylight. This is a little mini one that you can see a picture of. It's all made of copper, and this turret base just allows more light into the stairwell, which was our interest in this design. And it has this angled roof here. So you can see this is standing at the Henry Street side looking towards the backyard. These are the mechanical units being reviewed at the staff level. They're not visible from any view from any street. This is the turret style skylight, and you can see this little piece here in white, which shown from the other side here is this triangle. That's the portion of it that's visible from Cheever Place. This is the site plan and site section here above. So from Henry Street, the front of the house shows no changes at all in terms of these rooftop additions. There's a little bit of visibility of the back of the house by the supermarket on DeGraw Street. Again, none of these are visible from anywhere on that street. And this is a small 13-foot section over here on Cheever Place that you can see the back of the house. So you can see in the site section here, this 6-foot sight line coming across. It's quite far away from the back of the house. You have a full rear yard here and then the 4 neighboring yards, and you just peek a little corner at that to be visible. So these are photos taken with the mock-ups all in place. This is moving south to north along Henry Street as we go this way. Nothing is visible in any way. This is the views from DeGraw Street, also taken with the mock-ups in place. And there's usually big delivery trucks parked here, so it's rare to see this view. This was taken on Christmas Day, serving the supermarket there. And so you can see, especially even at this corner view, there's nothing visible at any time. This is the rear view from Cheever Place. This is that mock-up you can see with the little blue tape, just a zoomed in view there. You can see a tiny top 14 inches of the skylight. And you can just see as you move down that kind of 13-foot stretch from the other side of Cheever Place, not visible from this side, just how much of 480 Henry you kind of catch a glimpse of before it disappears behind the buildings here. All right, so this is kind of the best view of what the differences will be after our proposed renovation. This is a photo taken from the backyard, so you wouldn't see this from any public way, but it's just to show that the kind of unfortunate situation the building's currently in and how excited we are to make it look beautiful again. We're gonna do a lot of stucco work to fix all these patches and unify the color, keeping it that kind of creamy tone that it is now. And then this is, again, just a view of those 2 lower floor windows that would be put in right here. This is the view during the summer as it looks, and this is the way it would look if we're allowed to put in this window here with the divided lights. This is a building section of the basement and parlor floor window, just to show the work and the proportion to the brick. And this is a plan view of the parlor floor opening at the swing door. These are the details for the 2/2 double hung windows that will be used throughout the front and back of the home. Again, being looked at staff level, but just to show you for reference, they're traditional style windows. And just to wrap up, this is the cornice detail that we're proposing. This is a zoom in view of that 1940s tax photo. And it's actually replicated of the new cornice that was recently put in at 446 Henry on the same block just up the street. So it'll look just like that, which we think will be a nice addition. That's my presentation. I'll go back to this slide just because it's probably the most helpful. For any questions?
Thank you. All right. Anybody have any questions? Glenn.
Yes, You showed the plans earlier, which showed some HVAC equipment on the roof. Are there any visibility concerns with that equipment? It looked like there might be.
There's absolutely no visibility. We did the mock-up and walked around the entire block.
Well, those are the magic words. Thank you.
Jerry?
Well, first of all, as a neighbor of this building,
Oh,
living
good.
on the corner on the other place, not Cheaper Place, on Strong Place.
Oh, cool.
The work you want to do up front is very gratifying because what was done to those series of buildings there with them all having the cornice removed and looked like a parapet wall installed a number of years ago, even before I moved in, sort of destroyed the building. Actually,
Jerry?
Yeah, I think we lost Jerry.
Oh,
presentation where you're getting rid of the existing windows and replacing them with 2/2. It looks like the new 2/2 are larger than the old windows, but that could just be the drawing.
They are larger because we want them to align with the sister buildings. And at some point, the windows were filled in. I'm not sure exactly why, maybe for AC units, or in this case, certainly because they unnecessarily lowered the interior
No,
ceiling.
I'm talking about the back.
Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear
Not the
you.
front?
You went out.
Oh,
of it.
you cut, Jerry, you cut
I
out for a while.
apologize.
So
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
So at the third floor, they're the exact same size dimensions. On the second floor, we're bringing the sills down a little bit. And again, that's to align with the sister buildings.
That's fine. I just wanted to make sure what I'm seeing was correct.
You saw it correctly.
Yes. My other question has to do with the part that we are reviewing. And that's the fact that you're having, one of the 4 panels will be a door and the other 3 panels are going to be bifold, which will
Yeah.
allow what, for a complete opening of the space.
Correct.
And what's about the 2 lights that you're showing? How bright will they be? And will they disturb the neighbors on Cheever Place?
These are, I will call them mood lighting, these 2 here. They're a really nice traditional style light, which I'd be happy to send you guys the cut sheet for after. And they just kind of provide some soft illumination. So if you're outside, you won't trip.
And I don't think, if you mentioned it, I missed it. How far out does the deck go? The new deck?
It goes about 10 feet out.
Okay. And I guess the spiral stairway is just to take up less space in the backyard instead of
Yeah.
a traditional straight stairway?
Yes.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Leo, I have a question. Can you go to the drawing with the details on it, the back wall detail?
Yeah, of course. Oops. There you go.
Okay, so just trying to, is everything, so the detail on the right,
Mhm.
okay, so everything is recessed. That's what I was trying to get my head
Yes.
around. Okay, so there's nothing, you're not putting any casing out on the brick or the stucco.
No,
Okay, that's all.
it's better for water management. You get less water problems with your windows.
Glenn?
I'm ready to make a motion unless there's someone from the community.
Oh, okay, so let's hold on a second. Is anybody here from the community that would like to speak? No?
Doesn't look like it, David.
Okay, anybody else in the committee have a question? Okay, go ahead, Glenn.
I am pleased to recommend approval of this application as presented.
And I will second it.
Okay, motion by Glenn, seconded by Jerry. Any comments, conversation? I'm just scrolling here looking for hands up, so forgive me if your hand is up and I don't, takes me a minute to. It seems like we're okay. So let's bring it to a vote. Is anybody against this motion? Does anybody abstain from this motion? Well, I guess we're unanimously approved. Wow, that's 3 unanimous votes, right?
Great.
First of its
kind.
Yeah, all right. Well done. Well, congratulations, Leah, and good luck with the project.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys, I'm sorry I'm being summoned. I have to jump off and I hand everything over to my esteemed colleague, Alec.
You didn't break up a bit and well handled.
Thank you.
Enjoy
Have a good night,
yourself.
everybody. Thank you.
Night. Maybe the trick is that David always needs to be in New Hampshire, and then everything will go well. Okay, so we have 2 land use items tonight as well. And Ty, I don't know if you have an idea about ordering. I was going to suggest 41 Summit goes first, but what do you think?
I think that's the right move.
Okay, so then who are the folks from 41 Summit who will be talking tonight? Richard?
Yes, hi, Richard Lobel, Sheldon Lobel.
Wonderful. And I know, and Amanda, great. And I know, folks, you might be familiar with this general project. It came to the community board a few years ago. I know that there have been substantial changes since then that we're going to hear about. And so, we always appreciate it when an applicant makes substantial changes in response to a comment. And with that, I'll let the presenters talk.
Thank you, Alec, and good evening. Richard Lobel, Sheldon Lobel. I'm with Amanda Hanani from my office, who is controlling the screen, and Jack Cicero, the applicant, is with us. So we're here today, as Alec mentioned, to reconsider the 41 Summit Street rezoning, which was originally brought before the community board in October of 2018. Next slide. So what's changed? Well, this is an application for a rezoning of this one property to an R6B zoning district. Which would facilitate the development of a 4-story plus cellar residential building with approximately 5,000 square feet and 4 dwelling units. On the next slide, we show the difference between our prior application for the community board and what we have today. So the prior application was for an R7A. It also included lots, it was 1, 3, and 60, 60 being our lot, 1 and 3 being the adjacent former bank building. I think that went out of business. And the adjacent ground floor commercial 2-story residential above on Hamilton. So those 3 lots were included at the time. The development would have produced on our site a 7-story building, roughly 65 feet tall, with 10,000 square feet of residential floor area and 7 dwelling units. That application was withdrawn. At the time, the community board expressed a preference for R6B. We will demonstrate on the map clearly why that preference was sought. So the new proposal is for an R6B, which would include our lot and an additional 5 feet into the adjacent lot, which would not be available for any building, but basically evens out the zoning map on this block. This proposal would not be for a 7-story, but would instead be for a 4-story residential building, similar in context to many of the residential buildings in the immediate area. It would be 40 feet tall with 5,000 square feet and 4 dwelling units, which, by the way, Jack Cicero, who is again the applicant, would be occupying part of that building with himself and his family. So next slide. So this is kind of an eagle-eye view of the zoning map. It's probably clearer on the next slide, which demonstrates exactly how minuscule this rezoning is. On the slide to the left, you can see on the subject block on between Columbia, Hamilton, Summit, and Carroll, there's 2 numbers in that block. It's 280 and 250. So the R6B on the northern portion of the block extends 280 feet, and on the southern portion of the block extends 250 feet. On the right, which would be the corrected zoning map, would make the entirety of that boundary 280 feet. So that would essentially cover the property in question and even out the zoning map. Next slide. This is the tax map, which shows exactly the nature of the rezoning. Again, this allows for contextual development, even with the adjacent parcel to the east, parcel to the north, and the additional encroachment 5 feet into the adjacent lot. The next slide is the area map, which does a pretty good job in discussing or demonstrating why this rezoning is appropriate. So first of all, there's roughly 37 tax lots on this block. So what can we see from the color of the map? The yellow and orange colors are light orange are residential uses. So of the, let's say, 13 lots that are fronting Summit on this block, all of them except for this lot are zoned R6B. So this would allow for contextual development consistent with these adjacent uses. In addition, of the 37 tax lots on this entire block, of those properties with buildings on them, there's only, I think, 3 buildings that are commercial. The remainder of them are residential, including in the M11 portion. So everything to the left of that thick black line on the block is in an M11 district. But despite that M11 designation, you've got 5 residential or partially residential buildings. Actually, sorry, 6, and then 1 commercial building next door to us. So despite the designation of that half of the block as M11, it's really more appropriately designated R6B or residential. You can also see to the south of the block, as you go south of Hamilton Avenue and further south, all those blocks with the deep purple, those are all M11 blocks, and those are all manufacturing uses. So there's really a clear designation of those lots as M11 lots with commercial use. Here, particularly on this block, it's more appropriate to have residential. We'd further note that this rezoning is different than most of the rezonings we do. The floor area that you could get on this lot, on a 2,500 square foot lot, under the existing zoning is 6,000 square feet. Under the R6B, it's 5,000 square feet. So Jack actually is reducing the developable rights on this parcel by rezoning to an R6B. In addition, it allows for this building will have a 40+ foot rear yard, allowing distance from that residential building on the back running on Carroll Street, whereas an M11 building would only need a 20-foot rear yard or even less if there was a community facility on the ground floor. And in addition, the R6B has a height cap of 5 stories. This building actually is smaller than that at 4 stories, but the M11 district is non-contextual and can go up even higher as it would be able to with the additional square footage. So what you have here is a residential development adjacent to 2 residential developments, which has less floor area, would be less tall, and would not have a manufacturing use adjacent to these 2 residential uses. So this is really a well-supported application in terms of land use. Next slide. So the next several slides demonstrate pictures of the area. I understand the committee has a long meeting tonight and likely is familiar with this. We'll just page through quickly the photos. You can see the adjacent formerly Chase building to the side of us, and the residential buildings which have been built to the east, as well as various other industrial buildings to the south. I think, Amanda, if you just want to go to the zoning pages, you'll see the R6B plan. This again demonstrates on the 100-foot lot, the building which extends roughly 50 feet back. And again, just standard layouts. There'd be 4 residential units of roughly 1,250 square feet each. So with that, the applicant's happy to answer any questions. We note that it's been a little bit of a long road. We were in process for several years prior to coming to the community board during the last application, which the community board did request that we lower the building and we reduce it to an R6B, which we've done. So obviously, a lot of water has been come under the bridge since then, but we're happy to answer questions about the application, and that's it.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll take hands for questions. Jerry, and then Glenn.
I'm sorry, I keep forgetting to unmute myself, so I have to stop. First of all, I think this is a much better proposal than the one we saw a number of years ago. I think it reflects much better on the neighborhood, especially the buildings right next door, which are relatively new. And it does not go where the Chase building is, where it's a little different. However, my question is more of a technical nature. Usually, we don't rezone a single lot. How is this not considered spot zoning?
Sure. So Jerry, I'm happy to answer that question. Thank you. You know, we do a lot of rezonings, and I've argued issues of spot zoning before the appellate division of the state of New York. So I'm you know, well versed in issues of spot zoning. So what actually constitutes spot zoning, interestingly, is not the number of lots within the rezoning area. You can have spot zoning that is constituting 5, 6, 7, 10 lots, and you can have one lot which would not be considered spot zoning. So spot zoning is considered a rezoning which does not take into account what's called a quote well-considered plan. A well-considered plan is not defined anywhere in the zoning resolution and is really a matter of case law, is that basically, you know, in common terms, it makes sense and it provides context to the area. So in this instance, particularly where you are providing a straight zoning district boundary where you're actually notched out the R6B, the current M11 is a little bit of a notch in the R6B district. City planning actually encourages these rezonings. They feel that they're somewhat corrective, and just extending that existing boundary and just sliding it over to encompass the property. As you can see, as Amanda's posted this diagram and has circled the area in red, would be considered part of a well-considered plan. So again, great question. We end up, you know, discussing this a lot, but that's really the situation.
And if I'm not mistaken, you started your presentation showing what the original building was like and what the new building would be?
Correct. There's a comparison slide.
Yeah, if you could go back to that, I just want to make one point. I thought there was a picture. Never mind. Did you not show a picture of the original proposal?
Yeah, the proposal was actually it's the same proposal except with an additional 3 stories. So you know, I would add also at the time that there was a lot of discussion around the inclusion of those 2 other lots. The fact that it was R7A at the time, they actually asked for those other lots to be included, which would have resulted in development in excess of potentially in excess of 40,000 square feet and 60 residential units. So this obviously with a 5,000 square foot residential building with 4 units is vastly different.
That's it for me right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Glenn, then Daniel, then Ariel.
Sure. I thank you for your very nice explanation for spot zoning, Mr. Lobel. Although I still don't understand, and that's on me. I think I'm gonna need to learn more about this. It seemed like a masterful explanation, still left me unfulfilled. But my question is about the additional 5 feet and why that is necessary. You know, Department of City Planning has no problem you know, mismatching it. You look at the next block, it's 267 and 275. Why are we extending this onto the adjacent lot?
Sure. So this actually is in conjunction with city planning and the fact that on maps, they do actually request to the extent possible to have even zoning district boundaries. So the applicant gains nothing from extending an additional 5 feet. It's basically just that when somebody looks at the map now, it's an even map. And the other thing is that Article 7 of the zoning resolution allows you to extend district boundaries. So for example, if more than half of your property was within a zoning district, you'd be able to get the benefit of the entirety of that district. Here, this is a roughly 6,800 square foot lot. The additional 5 feet is going to result in about 500 square feet of residential. So there's no way they could actually take advantage of that. So city planning just said to us, it evens out the map. It, you know, keeps the technical review division happy. Please, you know, draw a straight line.
That's what I figured. Thank you for confirming it.
Sure.
Yeah, this is Daniel. Can we just stay on this slide? So I'm still a little confused about the 5 feet. So what can you just?
Sure.
Because I see 280 and 250, and that works out to 30 feet.
On the left is the existing map, and that shows that the R6B boundary extends on the northern portion of this block, extends 280 feet from Columbia Street. On the southern portion of the block, that boundary currently extends 250 feet. Were the rezoning to be allowed, the zoning map would look as it does on the right, and the entirety of that boundary would be at 280 feet. And
Okay.
so doing so, the applicant's property is 25 by 100. It's 2,500 square feet. So we would, so there you can see a little bit better. The red line indicates the entirety of the applicant's property, whereas the black dotted area indicates the zoning district boundary. So they asked us to push an additional 5 feet so as to make that an even 280 feet from Columbia Street on the north and south portions of the block.
Okay, so the 5 feet is the difference between the red and the
Correct.
black
Correct.
line. Okay, I got it. And your position is that from that this is an example of a single lot being rezoned, but not that does not constitute spot rezoning
Yeah, it really
from a legal
results.
standpoint.
We're introducing a new zoning district here. And actually, as evidence of this, when we introduced the R7A, in conjunction with city planning, they asked us to rezone 3 lots. Because in that case, if you had kind of this island of R7A on one lot amidst a sea of R6B, it would be, as they like to say, more spotty. Whereas if you take an existing zoning district like the R6B, and by the way, there's been a history of other R6B rezonings on this block. So when they push this zoning district boundary to cover an existing lot, they're taking an existing context and stretching it to cover one more property. It's not considered spot zoning because it's considered to be within the context of the area. The building that's permitted on it would be within the context of the buildings to the immediate north and east. So that's
what were the other 2 lots?
the other 2 lots previous to this were the 2 lots immediately to the west. Lot 1, which was formerly the Chase Bank building, and lot 3, which is ground floor, I think now HVAC with 2 residential
I
units.
see. And now you're just going into a
Just
small,
us.
a 5-foot portion of lot 1.
Correct.
All right, I got it.
Ariel?
I think mine is more a part of the discussion that'll come after, not a question really.
Okay, want to go Deb and then Joanna?
Can you hear me? It's Deb.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, just in support of what they're saying, I brought a rezoning on Carroll Street right around the behind them between Van Brunt and Columbia in the early 2000s. And we rezoned 2 parcels. We also thought we were going to bring a variance to do that, but city planning told us, no, we don't want you to do that. We want to preserve the integrity of the zoning code. We want you to move the line over 2 parcels. So they asked us to bring a rezoning, even though we thought we were going to apply for a variance. So that's just the philosophy there. That's what they asked for.
That's really helpful. Thank you. Joanna?
This may have been touched on, but I missed it. What's the history of how much of the M11 on this block has been rezoned into the
Sure.
R6?
So I've got everything in front of me. It's quite extensive. There was the Carroll Street rezoning application, which rezoned properties on the north side of Carroll between Columbia and Van Brunt from M11 to R6. So that was across the street. There was the 45 Summit Street rezoning, which rezoned 4 lots on the north side of Summit, again, on this side of the block, to an R6 district. And that was, back in 2007. Then there was the Carroll Gardens and Columbia Street rezoning, which was for a much larger area, rezoned 86 blocks in the area to a mixture of R6A, R6B, and R7A. Then in the immediate past, there was the 55 to 63 Summit Street rezoning, which was approved by the community board, by the way, in 2018. So there were 4 lots. You can see them on this map. There are 3 lots to the east of the property, and those 4 lots were rezoned to R6B in September 2018. So, essentially there was, consistent rezonings on this side of the block to R6B, but we were left out. So this would really kind of correct that situation and restore R6B to the entirety of this block.
Jerry? Jerry, you're muted.
Thank you. I keep forgetting. Is there anyone on here on this issue from the community? Do we know of?
Yeah, there are a few, Jerry. So why don't we?
Can we-
why don't
Yeah,
we
that's
start
what
that
I'm saying.
process?
Can we hear from them at some point?
Yes, let's do it. So I see 3 hands. Owen Foote. Ty, if you could promote Owen.
Owen, you've been brought over to the panel. You come to several of these, so you know how this goes. Feel free to unmute yourself when you get a chance.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. So first off, I'd like the applicant to give us a overview of their sustainability aspects to this project. One of the objections that I had previously voiced was the lack of any affordable housing inclusion on this project in the past. I don't know if the finances work, and I'm not even going to go there on this smaller proposal, but I can guarantee you a vegetated roof, sustainable initiatives, LEED silver or gold or platinum certification, stormwater detention, those types of things should be required to approve this expansion of residential in Community District 6. So my suggestion for the community board is twofold. One, to ask the applicant to guarantee that this will be an all-electric, non-fossil, so non-gas using building. So we're ahead of the curve. 2 years from now, that won't be allowed in the city of New York. Let's make it part of our condition today in Community Board 6. And 2, you guys have heard this from me before. Let's try to detain more of our stormwater so we can reduce the sewage overflow. The applicant could guarantee to us a tank in their 40-foot rear yard that would collect and not contribute to the sewage overflow that happens every time it rains in Community District 6. So I did not hear any comments with regard to sustainability or efficiency or anything that goes above and beyond the building code. I'd love to hear from the applicant now. Thank you.
Thank you, Owen. So Richard, you heard if you don't mind also addressing the affordable housing point, I think it'll be a question from other folks. So if you want to address both of those pieces, that'd be very helpful. Thank you.
Sure. So I'll start on the affordable housing point, which is that the R6B district, while it permits affordability, does not provide for affordability in this instance. And why is that? So this is a very interesting rezoning in that the maximum floor area that's available to the site currently is 6,000 square feet. And in the rezoned parcel, it would be 5,000 square feet. So it's actually, in a certain respect, a downzoning. When a property is downzoned by the city, they're unable to actually impose affordability. And the reason is that it's considered to be a regulatory taking, meaning that the city is essentially removing development rights, in this case, reducing the development by 1,000 square feet. And the applicant is not getting anything back for it. So here, while there are R6B zonings, so for example, if you're rezoning from an R3X or an R4, which would increase the square footage and provide for affordability, the fact that you're reducing the square footage here, the city won't even map mandatory inclusionary housing. So that's just to kind of address the affordability issue. The second issue with regards to sustainability measures, as I mentioned, Jack, who's on the call with us, will be living in the building with his family. I expect that typical sustainability measures would be imposed on the building as would be required by building code. I know that there's legislation contemplating electrification of buildings that may well be adopted, but I would just ask this of the committee. And again, the committee controls its own resolutions and obviously has done this many times. The 55 to 63 Summit rezoning, which was passed in 2018, did not contain any such measures which with regards to sustainability. It contained measures which with regards to the physical plan of the building, there was a request that there be no frontward facing balconies. But with regards to those measures, we would just ask that we be subject to whatever measures everyone else is subject to. I mean, that property and that building was for an 8,000 square foot parcel, which provided for square footage in excess of 19,000 square feet, sorry, 17,600 square feet. So in that regard, we likely will incorporate many sustainability measures into the building, but we would just ask that the committee be even-handed in its treatment of our building, which is much smaller and less of an impact.
If I could just insert a point of clarification here. While a rezoning can trigger the mandatory inclusionary housing, you might recall that there are thresholds under which it's not required, both in square footage and in number of units. This application would fall under both of those thresholds. So there's no requirement for affordable housing here, unfortunately.
Thank you, Glenn. I was about to say the same thing.
Okay, and thank you, Owen, for the comments. Okay, so Mark, I see your hand is raised. Did you want to say something on this point? And then we'll go back to members of the community, please.
No, it's actually, I'm making a comment on behalf of a member of the community who is a member of our community board, who I spoke to about this project when I saw it was on Summit Street, who is in favor of the project and who is greatly pleased that the prior project was disapproved and is very much in favor of this project. That's all I wanted to say.
Oh, thank you, Mark. Okay, so I see more hands from the community. I see sorry if I'm butchering your name, Militia. I see the screen name is PS58. If we could bring you up.
You should be able to unmute yourself now, Melissa.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Melisha Malvasio. I'm a part owner of a building that's on Carroll Street between Columbia and Van Brunt, so I'm just around the corner. What I would like from the applicant is something written down, a guarantee that when they put in the piles, that they would not be pounding in the piles, but instead drilling in the piles. Because from some of the buildings that were being built on Summit Street, they were pounding them in and it caused a crack on the side of my building, which is very costly. So I would like some type of guarantee from the applicant that when they do put in these piles, that they will be not pounding, but drilling or some other alternative.
Thank you. Richard, do you have any comment on that?
I know Jack's on the phone. I'm not, and Jack has experience in development. I'm not sure about the nature of the construction. Jack, can you weigh in for a minute?
Yes. Yes. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. It's Jack Cicero. Yes, she definitely has a valid point, and I definitely agree with her. We will not do any pounding of piles. I disagree with that, and I mean, in what point we will not have any of piling that will be pounded in. We will do helical piles which they're screwed in. I will not do any of that.
I appreciate that, but can I have that in a written statement from you?
Absolutely. You're my neighbor, and I don't want to disrupt anyone. I know they did that up the block from us, and we even felt the vibration because we have, mutual neighbors, and they were telling us the pounding is tremendous. You know what? We will not do any pounding piles whatsoever. It's not right and it's not fair. Yes, I would definitely put it in writing to do screw-in piles. Absolutely.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you again. Madeline, was this on this topic of piles that you wanted to say something?
Yes, as a matter of fact, there's a history of a problem in that neighborhood because of the subsoil. Now we're going back about 30 years, 40 years, when they were digging a sewer line down there and they collapsed all kinds of buildings on Columbia Street, is when they found out the vibrations are very bad for the buildings there because everything is like built on a swamp or something. They have to use those screw-in piles. They cannot pound them in. It creates all kinds of problems. So there's a long history of that.
Thank you. Yeah. I see Lev.
Lev, I've just promoted you to the panel. You should be able to unmute yourself here momentarily.
Hello.
Hi, we can hear you.
Alrighty. Hi, guys. How are you?
Just fine.
So-
How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm a property owner, and I happen to live in the building up by Columbia and Summit. Pleased to hear that the applicant is sounds like a very nice guy and concerns for his neighbors. I'm looking forward to him to start and probably make the block look much prettier. And it kind of sounds like you guys have answered some of the questions with the pounding, which was a concern. I remember when we had the sewer issues on Columbia. As far as sustainable with the water retention, we should leave that to the Department of Buildings, no? Well, we're not building it.
Thank you, Lev.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I see an Anthony.
Anthony, I've just promoted you to the panel. You can unmute yourself here momentarily.
Hello.
Hi, Anthony.
Hi, you can hear me? Okay,
Yes.
great. I can start my video here too. Yeah, I'm also a neighbor, and glad to hear that the owner is also going to be a neighbor. It's a very welcome aspect of this rezoning. But my question is about the height, and I understand it's 4 stories. I guess and I'm not sure if this is a question just as how the R6B works, but how high could you go, and both in terms of amount of floors and also height, just with a bulkhead or anything like that, in terms of the feet, the height in terms of feet.
Sure. So, Alec, I'm happy to answer. So the R6B permits a maximum of 5 stories or 50 feet. And here, particularly given the size of the lot at 2,500 square feet, you end up with 4 units averaging roughly 1,200 square feet per unit. So it really doesn't make sense for Jack to go up additionally. I mean, you can take a look at the R6B district on the remaining 20 lots that are on either Carroll or Summit here that are zoned R6B have largely resulted in 3 to 4 story residential buildings. You just can't get the square footage on these buildings to necessarily make it worth it for them to go up. Those units would be much smaller. So the answer is 50 feet total, but Jack's building 4 stories.
Okay, thank you. It's one building, right? Is that
correct? Yeah, one building.
Anthony, do you have anything else?
Is there, well, I guess relatedly, is there any requirements for setback or either in the front or the back?
There's a rear setback requirement. So there's a rear yard requirement of 30 feet. Jack's providing 49 feet. So this is, again, one of the really nice parts of the application is that if you had a mixed use commercial community facility building, let's say, retail or manufacturing, doctor's office, what have you, you could be 20 feet from the rear lot line, and you could have some pretty noxious uses there. So it's nice to know that you've got an overage as far as the rear yard, and also that you're going to produce a residential building.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Anthony. And I see one more member of the community, Denise.
Denise, you've just been promoted to the panel. You can unmute yourself now.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Denise and I'm a neighbor. I'm on Van Brunt Street. I just wanted to make sure that I heard clearly because I faded out a little bit with my connection, including the living spaces per each floor and mechanicals. It wouldn't be any higher than 50 feet.
Actually, the cap in R6B is 50 feet. This building will be 40 feet.
So it's 40, including any mechanicals that are on top of the building.
Yeah, I can, Jack, if you're on, is there a bulkhead or mechanicals that exceed the 40 feet?
It might be another 5 feet at best, but we're way under the 50 feet margin.
Okay. That answers my question. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Denise. And I see no other hands of members of the public, so we're going to close the community portion of this. And I know, Ariel, you said you had something more in the nature of a comment.
Oh, no, this is now a question. I'll save my comments for after we make a motion, but my question, just a point of clarification, the notch that you are correcting was left because it was a viable business that fit the M1 zoning. Was it or was it not? I mean, that's why it was left as M1 initially. Do we know that?
It was a warehouse building. It's been vacant for about 5 years. It's, the building dates back probably to the 30s or 40s. So I don't know when people recommend their own rezonings, they essentially control the zoning district boundaries. So 55 to 63 is an example where they just did it on those 4 lots and extended it.
Because they owned those 4 lots.
Right, correct.
They couldn't, so they only did it up till there. It was left out of the other set of rezonings that you detailed in your analysis.
Correct.
Okay.
Jerry?
I'd like to make a motion on this, if that's possible.
Hey, Jerry, I've got a question that I think needs asking.
I'll wait.
Thank you.
Glenn, go ahead.
Okay. I'm just wondering, since this is somewhat close to the waterfront, whether a flood zone comes into play here, whether that affects your floor area and requirement to elevate or provide a sacrificial floor.
And so it would prevent our ability to go down. Jack, with regards to the flood resiliency, whether or not, is there any requirements that are imposed on the building with regards to mechanicals or whatnot?
For my knowledge, no. And so far, we've done certain testing, and we haven't found water on the portion where the building will be going up. For the part of the rear yard, there's some water base points there, but where the building's going up, so far, we don't see any of it.
So you're gonna put in a basement then?
For the most part, yes.
Okay. Then
We'll try to keep all the mechanicals downstairs, opposed to having them on the roof.
right. So I'm just noticing a couple of comments, suggestions in the chat about offering something to the community in exchange for, while this is perhaps a down zone because of the loss of potential square footage, but it's an up zone in terms of real estate value. And so if we give you that, what can you offer the community in exchange? The suggestion was affordable housing. I understand, you've got limited possibility, but there's perhaps some possibility. And then the other is, something that provides some sustainability, environmental benefit. So just want to hear your thoughts on that. Something to entice the community, the board, to recognize this as a win for the community, as well as yourselves.
Yeah, I'm going to let Jack talk. I'm just gonna correct the record with one thing. So, I just want to go back to 5563 Summit because that was the immediate precedent for this. They had conditions in there with regards to attempts to, as common in applications for Brooklyn properties.
Why doesn't he say
or president recommendations with regards to local labor. So the community board actually had the conditions that were placed on, this is a matter of public record, was that the applicant be required to make available schematics of the development so that people would be able to, as construction was planned and took place, they could see what the building would look like. The applicant must discuss whether utilities were placed on the roof, which we've done, and that the applicant must not include front-facing balconies on the final version of the proposed building. So, with regards to this building, I think one of the things that we love about this rezoning is that you end up with a building which, the existing M11, I think you'd agree that, or most people would agree that putting a noxious M11 use, and M11 uses can be really terrible. This is the zoning resolution was codified in 61. There's some really bad noxious uses. So to be able to put a residential building, I think some of the comments on the call today have been that people, appreciate the fact that this will actually make the block look nicer. I would let Jack respond, as particularly with regards to environmentally conscious measures. Jack, is there something we can talk here about? What you could talk about, you try to incorporate into the building in terms of environmental sustainability and that type of construction.
Okay, I'm actually leaning towards making it a green building, and again, we're here to beautify the block, stay in uniform with the rest of the buildings, and, knowing what benefits, just being green is a big benefit. Putting trees outside is a benefit. That eyesore would be gone. We beautify the block, which would be in consistence with the buildings on the block. I mean, if there's something else, please let me know. Let us know what it is that we need to do to help the community, like up the block. Whatever they've done, we would do it. We would match and do the same as well.
Okay. Now let's see. Let's go, Pauline.
Yeah, I am curious, Glenn, because I don't think what you're raising is a legitimate question to ask an applicant. We can put conditions in our motion as to what we as community think we should have, but I don't think we should have a quid pro quo, because if I'm hearing you right, you're doing a quid pro quo as to what this applicant has to give us in order for us to vote yes. I don't think it's right.
I was just reading something out of the chat that was making suggestions for sustainability and the gap in our affordable housing program. Just wanted to throw that into the mix.
Okay, thank you, Pauline. Thank you, Glenn. Let Deb, and then Joanna, and then Jerry, who I think Jerry probably has a motion in mind.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I just have a suggestion for the applicant, because you might actually want to do this and it might resolve this situation. As I said, we did a rezoning around the corner on Carroll between Van Brunt and Columbia. I don't know if it was code or not I don't know whether it is or not, but we did a green building. One of the things we did was we did do a retention tank in the basement. We catch all our rainwater over there in a slow release after storms. And we've got backflow preventers. If we didn't have that, we'd be flooded on a regular basis. So, Jack, it might be something you seriously want to look at that would both help the community and help your future basement to a very large extent. Just a suggestion.
Absolutely.
Deb.
I definitely agree with that. And it's already in the drawings to have detention tanks. For the most part, I don't remember if I have one in the basement, but I definitely have one in the rear yard for sure. For the storm drain. Absolutely.
Yeah, we have both. We have our backyard's like one giant dry well, and then we have a big tank in the basement as well. So we have more of a crawl space than a basement to a large extent. But it really is tremendously helpful over there when the storms hit. So it's just, and that is a sustainable, that is a sustainable element. So you are actually doing that, and you are stepping up to the plate with that.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more, because who really wants the headache down the road to deal with floods and people's belongings? If people have stuff in storage or bicycles, who wants to deal with that? I rather do this now. If I have to put one tank, 2 tanks, it'll get done while I'm building it.
Good suggestion, Deb.
Okay. Thank you. Jerry, if you have are you going to make a motion?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't you make a motion?
Okay. Let me first preface something in the chat. Since this is a rezoning and not a variance, if we approve this and city planning eventually approves it, it will become an as of right for the owner developer to put up the building, and he does not have to come back to the community board for the design to be reviewed. That's in response to one of the questions, one of the notes in the chat, unlike a variance where we have some say in the design. Okay, the motion is as following. We recommend approval of the application before city planning. Do you want me to give the numbers, Alec?
No, it's fine. I'll pull it off the notice.
Okay. For the rezoning of, what was it, 41 Summit? 40, anyway, with the following condition. And that one, that before the community meets on March 16th, the developer, we recommend approval of the rezoning with the following condition, that before March 16th, when the community board meets, that the developer send a letter to the community board guaranteeing that he will install retention tanks for both stormwater runoff in the backyard, and also that he will use helical piles when it comes to driving piles in the area for the building.
And the board is meeting on the 9th, not the
On the
16th.
9th?
That's right.
I'm looking at the wrong calendar. No, yeah, I'm sorry. And yes, on the 9th, I'm sorry. I said the wrong date. He needs to get this letter into the board here, into the head office, and so it can be presented on the 9th before we vote on this issue.
Jerry, just as a question, what was your language on piling?
Helical piles. They're screwed in instead of driven in.
Maybe we should specify that rather than pounding in piles or.
Fine. If once you say helical piles, they're screwing, period.
Yeah.
It's okay.
That is, let me intervene here. That's the only system I would agree to do, because dealing with piles that I've pounded, I've seen the damage they could do. I will not do anything else but helical piles and the detention tanks for storm drains.
Sir, I'm not doubting your word. I just want it in writing.
And I will have everything in writing.
Good, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jack. And just going forward, we're going to stop comments from the applicant or Richard, although it's extremely helpful, unless we ask. But we really appreciate, all the participation, the fulsome answers tonight. So don't take that the wrong way. Okay, is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Okay. Is there discussion on the motion? Joanna?
Yeah, I'm glad we've arrived where we have, but I just wanted to comment that we know a lot more now than we did when we approved the other lots. And so I think the conversation we've had tonight has been very pertinent to our, our growing knowledge about what we need to do to make a sustainable neighborhood.
Thank you. Ariel? Ariel, for some reason, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
The case was made that the evening out the R6 makes a nice square rectangle there. And it coincides with the rest of the residential R6 that goes up Summit. However, if you look at it from the other side, and you look at the land use map of the M1 district, and you look at Hamilton Avenue, which it fronts on as well, you can make the case that that lot, along with the other two lots that were adjacent to it that had been part of the parcel before, could be still used in an M1 format. Not all, we know very well that M1 also has plenty of uses that are completely can cohabit with residential neighborhoods. So I'm just, when I came on the board, I think I voted against every zoning change that took away M1 without having a better sort of overall plan for this. And I was unhappy with the vote that I made the last time around on last meeting. And I'm going to vote against this because I just feel that we just continue to do this. We just continue to get these, that there is, along with residential, there's also jobs and opportunity to do some amount of, that could be developed, even as he said, a greater amount of development that could be a useful and functioning source for economic development in the neighborhood as well.
Thank you, Ariel. Jerry?
I guess I'll defend my motion. If you take a look at the next door lot, which is lot 1, it's a fairly large lot, but it's somewhat oddly shaped. And taking 5 feet from that lot is not going to impinge on anybody who thinks they can build something there that would be within the M1 frame. I think that if we were to take a look at, this is probably the last piece that we should approve going into an R zone, because at this point we begin to get very close to the container port and the entrance to the container port and to the Tesla dealership across the way or down the block a bit. But I don't think that a 5-foot impingement on lot 1, because of its odd shape and size, is going to stop anyone from coming in with an M1 type of building that would for industry. So I think I understand where Ariel's coming from, but I think it makes, in this case, 5 feet makes sense. Thank you.
Ariel, do you have a response? Is that why your hand is still up? I think you're muted.
Mike, for some reason I have a bad connection, so nothing's really working. I missed most of what Jerry said. I'm sorry.
That's okay. He pushed back along lines you might think. He was saying that this, although he understands the general concern, this is an appropriate place for residential, given everything in context.
I think I understand that. I also think that some of the concerns that were raised about the fact that while they may be reducing FAR, they are getting an enormous land value bonus. So there's that too. And that's, but that's not part of the, that's, as we've already reviewed that aspect of it.
Okay, I'm going to make a short comment myself, which is I think that this application, although it's not maybe a spot rezoning, we've seen BSA applications in this area too. And I think, again, it highlights the need that for the city and for our elected leaders to think more comprehensively about the appropriate zoning in this neck of our community board, which is really outdated. It's never made sense. A lot of the M1 was already residential at the beginning, and we get these applications in pieces, and it doesn't allow us to think thoughtfully about the whole, where maybe there's an appropriate place for M for an upzoning to double down on appropriate manufacturing. And maybe there's a place where M should be R, and maybe there's a place where R should be M. I don't know. Maybe there's Kiwanis mix extension that's appropriate here, but we're not doing any of that because we are, tied into the current zoning. And then I just want to make one comment, which, I see a comment in the chat saying that as an owner and a neighbor, I would rather not see affordable housing. Disappointed to see a comment like that. I think that we have a real serious need for affordable housing in our neighborhood. It's really despicable what's happened in the last few decades, how much affordable housing we've lost and how economically segregated we're becoming. And I hope that people do not see folks who have a little less money than them living next to them as a downside or in any way a detriment to their quality of life or their schools or anything else. And I think I speak for a lot of members of the board in saying that. Deb, I see your hand up.
Alex, thank you and well said from the beginning of your statement until the end.
Thank you. Deb, your hand's down. Okay, so if there are no other comments from the committee, why don't we do a vote? Please raise your hand, use the raise hand function or say in the chat if you're going to vote against this. We'll start there. Anyone else? Okay, I have Ariel. And now, are there any abstentions? Oh, and I wasn't referring to your comment. There are other comments in the chat. Okay, no abstentions. So then the resolution passes with one vote against. And so we very much appreciate the applicant, taking your lumps, coming back. I know there's been a long road. We're glad, Jack, that you're staying in the neighborhood, and we'll see you at the full board meeting. Okay, we have one other item tonight. So are the folks here for 218 Hamilton?
Hi, how are you? Elise Fullader from Eric Platnick PC. And I have Abigail with me from the medical center. If you want me to share my screen, I'll do
Wonderful.
that.
Yes. And nice to see you again so soon.
And I don't know if this is a joking matter, but I am not here to put a resident in an M1 district this evening.
Great. Okay.
Because I see your comment. I understand your comment that you just made 5 minutes ago about the full rezoning of your area. This is 218 Hamilton Avenue, and I can begin if that works for you. I know you guys had a really long night, so you don't need any introduction. I can.
Yeah, you can keep it tight on this, I think.
Okay,
thank
cool.
you.
I don't have too much to say because this overview pretty much sums it up. But this is a 7344 application to reduce the total number of required accessory off-street parking spaces for a 4-story and cellar proposed use group 4A ambulatory diagnostic or treatment facility. And it would be, so you were required under 4421 to have 1 in 300. And if we were to get the special permit, we would be required to have 1 in 600. So it would be 75 spaces to 38 spaces. The development would be for a Hava Medical and Rehabilitation Center. They have 3 other centers, and they are established in 1998 in Brooklyn, and they are expanding and they need more space to serve the community. And I'm going to have Abigail just speak about what they do in a second. It would be a 4-story, 22,431 gross square foot building, including a basement and a cellar. And then if you see the chart in front of you, it breaks down the requirement per floor. You can see without the special permit and with it. So with the special permit, without, it would be 75. With the special permit, we would only need 37, but we are providing 38 spaces. And then I can show you where it is. So this is on LaCour, Coles, I've been on this block in front of your board even before, and Hamilton Street. It's at the corner. It's an oddly shaped lot. You can
Hamilton
see
Avenue.
here. What?
Hamilton Avenue, not street.
Oh, sorry, Hamilton
That's right.
Street.
You should know
Apologies.
since you're there.
Yeah, sorry. I always
No,
do that. Staten Island, there's a Richmond Avenue, Richmond Street. I always screw that up.
Terrace,
So
Richmond
apologies.
Terrace also.
Oh, there you go. And it's lots 29 and 36 on block 513. So you can see where it is. Okay, and you can see here, it currently has a warehouse and a residential building on the lot. And this isn't a use variance, so it is a permitted use. We're just asking for a parking waiver. You can see where it is, a lot of those. And then you can see here that it'll be a 4-story with a cellar community facility building. That's the zoning, that's the cellar. And then the parking would be on the first floor. It would be stackers with entrance from LaCour, and there's a good LaQueer, right? LaQueer. I've screwed this up too before the pronunciation. Okay, here you go. So you can see there'd be a ramp with a landing from LaQueer. And that's what the stackers would look like. And then if we could give Abigail a second to talk about the need in the area and what AHAVA does, I think that would be helpful for understanding why we're asking for this parking reduction, and more medical space would be really, really useful in the area. Abigail, take it away.
Sure. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. Again, I know it's late, Elise mentioned that. So AHAVA Medical is a multifaceted practice. There's 3 other locations. 2 of them are in urban areas and 1 is upstate New York. AHAVA operates in high density areas, and the business model is for really pedestrians and people coming on public transportation. AHAVA specializes in severely handicapped and disabled populations. We provide evaluations, diagnosis, treatments, and state-of-the-art therapies, including aqua therapy. AHAVA also provides general medical care for the local population. The 218 Hamilton Avenue location will operate similarly to the other locations, with the addition of outpatient surgeries. Generally, the patients of AHAVA are scheduled in advance rather than as a walk-in type of facility, not an urgent care type of facility. Many of you may know that on the Carroll Gardens side of Hamilton Avenue, there are several medical centers, and it's medical care is easily accessible. However, on the Red Hook side of Hamilton Avenue, the population needs more accessible medical care. I believe that the Red Hook population will be served greatly by having this ability to access medical care in a walkable neighborhood. The plan is to employ 2 doctors to perform the outpatient surgeries and 4 providers to perform exams, evaluations, and treatments on a daily basis, Monday through Friday, and operating on Sunday as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
And
Is there anything
now-
else with respect to the application?
I guess the only other thing we want to say is he's not with us tonight, but we did have a parking study done, specials, to make sure that we were meeting the need of the area. And they came up with the 38 spaces as well. So we're upon request of the BSA, this will also be sent to the DOT just to also confirm that they agree with our parking analysis.
And so that was actually.
I'm sorry, may I add one comment as well? The other
Okay.
2 Brooklyn
Yeah.
locations do not have large parking facilities either. That's our business model, and we anticipate that being the same in Red Hook.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So it would be helpful to just sort of, if you just say it's an analysis in general, okay, but could you walk us through a little bit how you arrived at the number?
So I
asked
can share
whether-
that.
Yeah.
There you go. Not this. This is their letter. And I'm trying to move something. Hold up. Here we go. Parking study. Okay, you can see the parking study, right? Okay. So, oh, here we are. So they use, DOT has standard numbers for different locations, and they, the professional parking study specialist used those numbers to calculate the need in the inbound, outbound, and you can see, and at the height, the peak period from 10 to 11, they found that the parking accumulation would reach a maximum of 35 vehicles. Does that answer the question?
Yes. So this is to meet peak. And I just have one follow-up, which is if your applicant had their druthers, how many, put the analysis aside, is this analysis requiring more parking than you would have asked for? I'm asking mostly as a matter of curiosity, but.
This applicant honestly wants as much medical space. They feel like they have 3 other locations. They're growing. There's a need. They're a rehabilitation center. People don't really drive. They get dropped off. So if we had our druthers, we'd have even less parking, because then we could provide more medical space in a building that is, as of right.
But you feel you need to ask for this number in order to get the permit approved through the rest of the process?
Well, yeah, it's required by the special permit. We don't want to ask for a variance.
Okay. Okay. I saw in this order, Bob, Jerry, Madeline.
Okay. A number of questions. The parking space, is that using a flood zone area or something you couldn't put the medical anyway in?
We're putting some medical stuff and storage in the basement. So I think that's just, I don't think it was because of the flood zone. I think it was because of access with the ramp. It's a very awkward site.
Yeah, I just
wanted to get.
Yeah.
What?
I just wondered because you said that if you had less parking, you'd have more medical thing available, but I didn't know if you could. Are you in the flood zone there?
I do not think so. I can double check that, but I don't think so.
I'm unclear of.
If I may interject, we had that 3-lot zoning on Columbia, LeQuire, and Coles not too long ago, and the applicant told us that they were just outside the flood zone.
Wasn't sure.
I still think it's probably worth making the argument that you have the sacrificial parking floor, move all of your offices upstairs.
Yeah. Okay.
All the offices are upstairs. If we use the basement, it'll be like an accessory storage kind of space, not for many of the offices with the equipment.
You saying the medical care is mostly for outpatient surgery and things that are set up with appointments, not as much for walk-ins. Is that what you were saying? Because I wasn't clear on that.
Yep.
Okay.
And Abigail's here if you have further questions about how.
Yeah, is there an urgent care in Red Hook there anywhere? I don't think so. Jerry's shaking his head no. I mean, that's why I would hope that this would have been, that's really what the neighborhood could use to build something like this and not expect people to walk in or, not targeted for that. Seems a little strange. That's all. I mean, that's your choice. But it does seem a little bit weird that you have this whole thing set up nicely. And it's.
If I could respond.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
This is back to your other question, but apparently your board are very good listeners because it's the flood zone starts a block away, as they already pointed out. It starts on Columbia Street.
Yeah.
So it's not in a flood zone.
All right.
If I could respond to the urgent care issue. The medical center is really like a doctor's office. People can walk in. We take walk-ins. We generally have appointments. If people need general medical care, they're able to receive that at Ahava Medical. However, you're able to receive a lot more than you can at your standard doctor's office as well, such as therapies, procedures, outpatient procedures, and things of that nature.
Okay, good. And I assume that the doctors will all take Medicare and Medicaid. And since you're in an area that probably will have that more than anything else is insurance?
Correct.
Okay, just want to make sure. Thank you.
Good questions. Jerry, then Madeline.
Okay, Abigail, in your statement that you made it sound like Red Hook does not have any kind of medical treatment facility. And they do, as I'm sure you know, the Joseph Adabo Center on Richard Street, right across the street from Coffee Park, has been there for a number of years. You will be the second one. You'll not be that close, which is one thing, but the impression your statement gave is that there is nothing in Red Hook. There is something. So I just wanted to correct that. Also, can we go to the diagram that shows where the entrance to this parking facility will be? On what street? I know it was back a number of.
Yes. Here, you can see it, the car going down.
Okay, now what street is that on?
LeQueer.
LeQueer. Okay.
Point that out on
As
the.
long as it's not on Hamilton Avenue, that's what one wanted to make sure of. And also, will a lot of your patients be coming with in the vans that the city and MTA offer? The handicap vans and other vans? And will they be using this parking facility? They will be outside.
Neither one. Neither one, actually. They'll drop off and keep going. That's the nature of those drop off of those services. And there'll be an area to do so, kind of like a bus stop. They'll come in, so it won't be blocking any of the streets. There'll be a safe, egress into the building, out of the van and into the building, and then there'll be moving along.
Okay, the reason I ask is there are a number of these facilities, the vans sort of sit there and wait. And what you said, I hope that will be enforced so that we don't get a traffic buildup on either LeQueer or Hamilton Avenue. One other thing. Okay, no, you've answered all three of my questions. Thank you.
I was gonna say, if they came by Accessory, the patient waits and waits and waits, not the van. If you only want an Accessory.
Unfortunately, you're not always.
Can you, I'm sorry to interrupt, but can you show what Jerry just asked on the plan, on the street plan, to show where this is? No, the one that actually shows the map. Yeah, that. Okay, where is the entrance?
Let me go to the first floor plan. This is the third floor, second floor. Oh, there we go. Should be on LeQueer. Hamilton. Sorry, it's easier to see on the elevation.
On the bottom.
No, but you can't tell.
Oh,
I'm
here.
trying to figure out. Do you have to
Here,
go
here,
around the
here.
whole? Okay. And these are all one-way streets, except for Hamilton Avenue. So you have to go around. You have to go around the whole block. I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
jumped in front of. All right.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Okay, Madeline.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that there is a health center in Red Hook. It's been there any number of years. It's gone under, several different names and whatever, and it's within very easy walking distance of people there. And they have doctors, they have dentists, all kinds of things. It's, yeah, there could be better health coverage in this neighborhood, but at least there is something and has been for a long time.
And I think she just meant that it'll add to what you already exist there and provide therapies that other places may or may not. The purpose of this is rehabilitation therapies is the main focus.
Thank you.
What?
Okay, Joanna.
This is yet another example of a reason why we don't need parking minimums anymore in New York City. And I hope whatever statement we issue on this will include a note of that. This is a place where we could be providing more services to the community. The applicant doesn't want the spots and is forced to ask for them. So just to note that. And then I'm also hoping that the applicant will, because of the use of the stackers, I'm thinking about the transient use and how much movement will be required of the cars on top versus the ones on the bottom. And maybe they can advise staff as well to try and use public transportation and alternate transportation so that there's less of a hassle for people in the garage, just to note that.
I also forgot to mention, and you just totally reminded me, that this will be attended valet parking. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Bob?
Yeah. Back to the drop off. You're not going to expect a van or someone to, that's just dropping someone off, a driver to go into the parking lot and pay. I assume if it's attended also, it's going to be paid. So is there a drop off zone, and is there an entrance that's easy to get to from that drop off zone?
Yes, that's a very good question and concern. There is like a kind of loading zone, as you may put it, or a bus stop where there's a drop-off zone.
Can you use the floor plan you just had up, because this doesn't.
Okay, sorry, I was trying to show the elevation for the front door.
No, it's easier to picture it from there.
Here.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. So where is that bus stop? And
There's no bus stop.
you said that, you said there was a bus stop there.
I think she said loading zone, but people will be dropped off on LaQueer, correct? Do you agree with that? I'm just making sure I have it go. But people will be dropped off on LaQueer. I was trying to show the front door, in front of the front door. And we don't yet have a designated load, like full loading berth area, because we're not, this is not a big enough building to require one. You need to be 25,000 square feet. This is 22,000 square feet, but we'd expect people to be dropped off at the front door.
Okay, and the door is somewhere there that's not marked.
I was trying to show you the elevation.
Yeah, I know, but okay, yeah. All right, thank you.
Jerry, you have a motion?
I do. Basically, the motion is to recommend approval of the reduction of parking. And I don't have the numbers in for the application number in front of me, but and I all have that, so that's the recommendation. And a footnote to the recommendation is that I request that the board office set up a meeting with the applicant, the board office, and DOT to come up with a way to make sure that the handicap vans and the drop-offs do not stack up and create a traffic problem on LaQueer Street or any of the surrounding streets, including Hamilton Avenue. It's not part of the motion, but it's a request for the board office, and to do it rather quickly.
I'll second.
Okay, and do we have any discussion on the motion? Joanna, you were thinking about a additional material in the motion, I know.
A friendly amendment, just to note that this is a prime example of a use case where parking minimums make no sense. And just to highlight that for the powers that be, because it comes up over and over again. And then if that meeting goes forward, like Jerry suggested with DOT, given that this is intended to be a rehab center, thinking about people with challenged mobility issues, and there's been some discussion in the chat, it would be a great time to talk to DOT about making the overall street environment near the facility safer for people accessing it as pedestrians.
Thank you, Joanna. Jerry, is your motion? What do you think about that friendly amendment?
I have no problem with the first part. And I think that, again, as we discussed, as you mentioned earlier, I think Hamilton Avenue has to be looked at in totality, not just this intersection. Cole Street is not the main crossing. You have Smith and 9th Street. You have other streets that are on Clinton Street, Clinton Street and 9th Street that are the main crossing. Cole Street is not a main crossing. If we're going to do anything, it's to look at it from the tunnel all the way down to the drawbridge for pedestrian improvements, not just this spot. This is a minor irritant for the pedestrians compared to the major crossings. So if it means looking at, I would accept it if it means doing a pedestrian study on Hamilton Avenue, not just on Cole Street.
I have my hand raised.
Okay, I saw Daniel's, hand
my,
first.
and my comment is germane to the request for a friendly amendment. I actually don't think it's appropriate that this letter about this single application include a general policy statement of the board about parking minimums, which arise in many different contexts. And I think that if the board wants to weigh in on that in a comprehensive way, that we should, separately have some sort of subcommittee or whatever come up with a proposal and have some kind of separate resolution that's put before the board on that. I don't think we should have stray, comments that aren't really germane to the application itself. I'm not opposed to the second half of the requested amendment. But if it includes a general statement about parking minimums, I think I'll have to vote against it. Thanks.
I have a suggestion. Why don't we make the part about the pedestrian study and the rest of Joanne's statement a separate motion? Let's vote on the first motion first, and then Joanna, I'm sorry, can present that motion, and we can vote on it then as a two-piece motion.
That's a possibility. I still have my comment that I want to make.
Okay, Bob, why don't you?
Yeah, which is exactly, it's pretty much what was just said. I think this is a prime example of why